Price discrimination, that is the leitmotif of our lecture today, is actually based on inefficiency of monopoly. What is this inefficiency about? Monopoly is inefficient to both sides, actually, to buyers and, slightly more surprisingly, to the seller, to the monopolist itself. When it comes to buyers, under monopoly, buyers are offered less goods than under, let's say, perfect competition or any other competitive market. And because they are offered less, they are forced to pay higher prices. So from the buyer's perspective, the inefficiency of monopoly is based on the question that they don't get as much as they could, and they have to pay more than they could pay if the market was more competitive. But the inefficiency of monopoly also impacts the seller, the monopolist itself. Have a look at the graph here. Normally, we said that profit maximizing monopolist would try to equate marginal revenue with marginal cost. And this equation, this point of intersection, graphically speaking, would give us the quantity, monopolistic quantity that is supplied to the market, and the price, the monopolistic price that is charged by the monopolist. And we already know that monopolists are not willing to produce and sell more, like this red line here, because that would certainly mean higher costs and lower prices. You can see both of them in the graph. Buyers certainly would buy more products than QM. And they would actually accept the price, and this price would be higher than marginal cost. As you can see here, right? The price is higher than marginal cost, even for this red line. So the additional cost of monopolist is well covered, in advance actually, by the price, even if this price is smaller than PM. The problem for the monopolist is that he can't accept this situation because lowering the price for this additional unit would probably force them to lower the price for the whole sales, for the whole production. And this is something that the monopolist cannot lose. This inefficiency of monopoly perceived by the seller, by the monopolist, results from the fact that we, so far, considered only the idea of uniform price. Meaning, we made this unspoken assumption that all the units of production are sold to the market at the same price. What if they are not? This is kind of introduction to price discrimination. This is a case that I call have a glass of wine. Imagine that we have 6 bottles of great wine. The bottles of wine that is really of high value. And we want to sell them. There are no differences between those 6 bottles, they're identical. I use this case for simplicity reasons. As you can probably see, the supply of our wine is perfectly inelastic. We've got 6 bottles of wine and not more, and we cannot have more. And the quantity of bottles that we may sell does not depend on the price. The normal, let's say, standard market solution would be, let's have a look at the market. So we've got our quantity, our price, we've got our 6 bottles of wine. And there is some demand for this kind of wine. And demand is downward sloping as it is usual. And there is certainly some point of intersection that shows us the equilibrium quantity. Not surprisingly, this is 6 here, because we've got just 6 bottles of wine. And there is some price at which buyers would buy 6 bottles. I call it PE. So if I ask you, all right, so how much money can we get from selling those 6 bottles of wine? The standard answer would be, well, the equilibrium price is PE, so we can sell 6 bottles to the market for PE per 1 bottle, so 6 bottles. The money that we get, our revenue, is 6 times equilibrium price, whatever this equilibrium price is. This is the standard answer, because we speak of the uniform price here. And certainly our equilibrium price is high enough to just take 6 people to buy wine from us. But the question is, among those 6 people, are they all equally interested? Are they all having the same willingness to pay? Obviously, they all would try to buy the wine as cheaply as possible, but what is their real willingness to pay? If they are not equally interested, if some of them are more and some of them are less interested, we may try to get their preferences unrevealed. We can push them to reveal their real preferences by organizing an auction. How can we do that? Well, we simply gathered all the interested people and we put 1 bottle to auction. And they offer their bids, and out of all people that we gathered, all the interested people, there will certainly be one that says, well, I offer that much. So this one person would defeat other rivals and would pay as much as it is possible for him. Then we could try to put the 2nd bottle on the auction, the 3rd one, the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th one. So people competing against each other would offer more, and more. So they would reveal to us, to the seller, how much they can actually offer. And you can see that actually only the 6th person would offer just the equilibrium price. All other, like those first 5 people, would offer more. So if we break our assumption on the uniform price, and if we make different prices for different people, we can actually earn more. How much more? Well, previously our total revenue was the rectangle that was marked by PE, the vertical dimension, and 6, that was the horizontal dimension. Now what we get is this blue kind of trapezoid. What's the difference? Well, the difference is the triangle above PE. And this is the triangle we already know. This is consumer surplus. The auction is the tool for us, for the seller, to capture the consumer surplus. This is the money that normally stays in our consumers' pockets. The auction allows us to take this money from their pockets and increase our total revenue. Obviously, you must remember that this auction means also additional costs. And for us to make it reasonable to organize the whole venture, it is necessary that the additional benefits, like this triangle here, is bigger than the additional cost of organizing the auction. But otherwise, we can actually use this technique to get more money from our customers.